Hi, I'm Peter Backers, and I'm going to talk to you today about the process of needs finding for a health hackathon. The first step to successful medical technology innovation is identifying an important and well-characterized unmet need. I'm going to give an overview of the process by which needs are discovered, selected, and defined in order to set the stage for developing the best solutions to a truly important unmet need. We will discuss three approaches to identifying several potential unmet needs, how to generate need statement for those needs, and how to screen and select the best problem for your team to work on, as well as how to define the problem clearly in a needs specification. We are going to discuss three main approaches to needs exploration: background research, observations, and interviews, and how to use these approaches to uncover important unmet needs in healthcare delivery. The first main approach is background research. The first step to needs exploration is performing background research on the focus area of interest, including looking at disease state fundamentals, existing solutions, market analysis, and stakeholder analysis. When researching stakeholders, it's important to consider different perspectives in the cycle of care. It's important to perform background research to identify the key stakeholders and their different perspectives, such as physicians, patients, nurses, and representatives of the healthcare system. After background research, you should begin the process of observations, which are best conducted through clinical immersion. Try to explore multiple settings and hospital types throughout the span of care, and actively search for waste and inefficiencies that can be eliminated, as well as pain points among stakeholders present. Here's some pointers for conducting observations. Don't judge, be truly curious, question everything, find patterns, and listen. It's also important to keep an innovation notebook to capture detailed notes about observations. It's important to record only what is seen and heard. Here are some guidelines for documenting observations. Record the date and time and place of the observation, who was present, specific facts and details, personal responses to the act of recording these notes, specific words, phrases, and insider language, the timing of the various steps of the procedures, and questions about people or their behaviors to be investigated later. Throughout the process of background research and observations, you should have identified several stakeholders to interview. Here are some pointers for interviews. Ask why, never say usually when asking a question. Encourage stories. Look for inconsistencies. Pay attention to nonverbal cues. Do not suggest answers to questions, and avoid binary questions. And remember to be courteous. Don't interrupt, and always thank people for their time. Here's a list of some people you should try to interview during this process. The final step to the needs exploration process is to generate well-defined need statements. A need statement should define three main components. The problem communicates the health-related dilemma that it requires attention. The population clarifies the group that is experiencing the problem. And the outcome specifies the targeted change in outcome against which solutions to the problem will be evaluated. Here are some common pitfalls to avoid when generating need statements. Avoid being too general in your need statement. Be specific enough to identify the problem, but also avoid being too specific and limiting yourself to certain populations or solutions for no reason. It's also important to avoid restricting to current practice and to avoid embedding a solution in your problem statement. You don't want to limit to one approach or restrict yourself to one solution idea. A useful tool to help validate an unmet need is to perform the 5 whys technique, which ensures that for any observed problem, the root cause of the problem is being solved, which more often than not is the optimal problem to solve. Here's an example of how to perform the 5 whys technique. If you have an observation that a significant number of patients are experiencing postoperative respiratory failure who are on opioids, you ask the question, why are patients experiencing respiratory failure? You may arrive that patients are unpredictably and suddenly experiencing respiratory depression due to the opioid effects that is not detected in a timely manner. Then you might ask, why are patients not continuously monitored? And you'll find that the hospital is not equipped with enough monitoring beds to accommodate all patients during the postoperative period. This leads to the question, why are hospitals not equipped with enough monitoring equipment for these patients? And then you can arrive at a root cause. The hospital is not required to monitor these patients and determine that it would be cost prohibitive to purchase the necessary equipment. From here, you can generate an unmet need, such as an affordable way to continuously monitor all patients in a postoperative period that will reduce detection time for respiratory depression. After identifying several unmet needs and generating their need statements, you then begin the process of need screening. It's important to consider your background research on existing solutions, stakeholder analysis, and market analysis, and to rank these based on your research with weighted criteria to determine the optimal need for your team. You consider aspects of your internal team composition, its strengths, weaknesses, background, and objectives. A useful way to consider both these external and internal factors is to perform what's called a SWOT analysis. A SWOT analysis examines strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Strengths and weaknesses refer to internal features of your team, while opportunities and threats refer to external factors. Of course, when doing a health hackathon, there is a bias towards selecting problems that are appropriate for a technology solution. Keep an eye out for processes that can be performed more efficiently and reliably by a potential device or software. Look for problems with existing technologies, hardware or software that require improvement. And also look for gaps in care that are not resolved with current available technology or human processes. Once the top needs or need is selected, a need specification should be created which contains a needs statement, a summary of the data collected, and an outline of the needs criteria, which are the requirements that any solution must address in order to satisfy the need. This includes must-haves and nice-to-haves. Here is an example of a needs specification containing a needs statement, a list of must-have criteria and nice-to-have criteria. Here are some additional resources to help you in your background research. Thank you for watching, and good luck in your needs finding process.